Safaricom shares are going up crazily. Let me repeat that once again. Safaricom shares are going up crazily. Can you imagine? They moved all the way from as low as 17 shilling. One price per share at 17 right now. Well, I'm making this video on when is the date? Let me check it out. 13th of June. The share is around 25 shilling. Can you imagine that? 25 shilling. And this change has actually happened. Okay, it depends. You may find that data has closed with 24.95 or something like that, but that's the area that they are right now. See, now, this has happened within a very short period of time. Talk about actually, I think it's less than a week. Let's give it a fortnight, 2 weeks. In a period of less than 2 weeks. There is a client whom I was having a conversation with. He made more than 850,000 Kenyan shilling with that period of time. Well, of course, he had invested a huge chunk of cash. If he was to sell those shares right now, he could have made that amount of money. Well, I think he went ahead and sold the shares. Anyway, the point is, the Safaricom shares are going up crazily, all the way from 17 shilling up to 25 shilling as we speak. And I think it's actually going up and up and up. Now, the point is this. There's a time I came here and I told you guys, something's about to happen as far as the Safaricom shares are concerned. If you have the cash with you, go ahead and buy. I don't know whether you bought. And if you've never bought any shares, by the way, if you need my services to take you through step by step, even if you're outside the country, you don't know how to buy shares and you're outside the country or within the country, you know nothing about it, just pick this number, call me on WhatsApp or text me, then I'll be able to take you through. And that's not the point. The point is here that the Safaricom shares are actually going up crazily. And you might ask me the question, well, Joseph, what is the contribution to that? What is actually contributing to that, excuse me, increment of those shares? This is happening basically because, well, I guess, and okay, professionally, I think there's several reasons why this is happening. Number one, of course, there is a high demand of these Safaricom shares. Why? It was made public that the government gonna sold its fraction of shares. We yet to know how much in terms of the fraction, because we know as of now they own 35% in Safaricom. Or what am I saying? They own 35% of Safaricom right now as we speak. So we don't know how much they're going to sell in terms of a fraction. Of course, there was that. And they are aiming to raise around 149 billion Kenyan shilling. That's around 1.12-ish billion in terms of dollars. Now, if this is the amount that they're aiming, of course, they say they're going to sell some of the shares. And of course, people are getting into those shares, buying those shares. So there is a high demand of the same. Okay. So whenever there is that high demand of the same, then of course, okay, if you read the simple rules of demand and supply, when you find that a lot of people are demanding something, of course its price goes up. And of course we have a variety of other reasons why shares usually or stocks usually goes up. One being demand, two, performance of the company. And by the way, in less than a week, actually even few days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, there was some news that the Safaricom shares has actually crossed the 905 billion Kenyan shilling in terms of a market cap. Do you know what that means? That means the overall, whatever they have, like the market cap. Right now, this 905 billion, that's approximately 8.5 billion US dollars. Safaricom is the single most biggest company listed under the Nairobi Securities Exchange. By the way, it has ever crossed the 1 trillion mark. So anyway, perhaps we are heading there. So the point is, Safaricom is actually doing well, based on what is happening, the demand and the supply, and of course, the performance of the company. The company is actually expanding its services to Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the second biggest populated country on African continent. I was about to say on Earth. On African continent, that is after Nigeria. They have, I stand corrected, they have over 112 million people above. Now, if you can actually, you as a company, get into such a country with such a population and you get embraced, whoa, I'm telling you, that is actually a very big way, in terms of growth and such kind of a thing. So am I telling you to buy Safaricom shares? No, I'm not telling you to do that. At the end of the day, it's your personal decision to buy. Anyway, this is just, this is not a financial advice. This is actually me sharing this information. It's educating you, letting you know what exactly is happening in the market. And what happens in the market of stocks or in the stock market is that there's a very, very specific timings because, well, the government is is not yet to dispose its shares. Actually, they're looking forward into a certain period of time for them to dispose these shares. And of course, if you ask me, again, I stand corrected, the shares might actually go way up then when the government disposes these shares. But again, it depends on the nature at which they're gonna dispose. Either they're gonna sell these shares at a private equity, probably they'd be like, what, the Vodacom can decide to be like, what, you are selling 10%, let's absorb that 10%. Or they might actually decide to go the IPO way. The IPO way, that means that now the Safaricom shares can be made more public, because as we speak right now, only 25% of it is actually free float, yeah, meaning that anyone can buy shares. Only 25% is open to the public. Maybe let's say, I'm just throwing random numbers, let's say that they sell 15%, then gonna have like 40% out there. It depends, the management of the company, they're gonna sit and find out, like, what can we, we as Vodacom, or we as whoever owns that Vodacom, Vodafone, or whatever, they can decide to absorb whatever the government is selling, or they can decide to go the IPO way. And they find out if it goes the IPO way, which one, is more beneficial to the company, or if we absorb it, which one is more beneficial to the company. So anyway, I may not be able to tell them what they're supposed to do, but of course, according to the way I think, if they go the IPO way, it might actually have to have it might actually go a little bit down. But if they go the private equity way, or private way whereby they decide to absorb the shares, we might not actually feel that effect. So they may actually end up being up and up there. So anyway, this is a very special case whereby you find shares are appreciating with 9 points, from 17 to 25, not 9 rather, but 8. That's a very special case. And does it happen always? No, it doesn't happen always. And those who got into the shares, I remember I bought mine when they were around, there was a time Safaricom shares were even around 15%. I think for me, I bought when they were around 15%. So I'm at 25. So that's a clean 10. That's a clean 10. Mean I'm almost doubling the money I invested there. That's a good news, isn't it? It's a very good news. See, investment is a very good, but anyway, this is a paper appreciation, okay? I can only realize that profit. Like that client of mine sold his, he made around 800 and something G's. So, but if I decide to sell mine, that is when I will realize the 10 shillings. But if I have not yet sold my shares, it's just a paper appreciation. It's like the way you buy a land at 2 million, then it appreciates to 3 million. Well, on paper, the only way you can pocket the extra million, it is by you actually literally selling your land, so that you get what I'm saying. So now, well, this is exactly happened. And by the way, this is not only mirrored in Safaricom only. We have other variety of companies. I don't want to mention them. No, that's a premium service. That's why you have to pick the number and you can shoot me a call and we can discuss, okay? Though legally is the stockbroker who's supposed to tell you what to buy. Basically, I'm gonna show you what factors to consider when buying shares, such as 52-week range. We have things we call the EPS, that is the earning per share. We also have things like earning per share. We also have things like price per share. We have some variety when the company started, the stability of the company, the track record, and all those kind of change of management. Those are the simple. So these are simple but complicated factors that you have to consider when making a decision on what shares to buy. And such kind of a thing. So guys, I decided to come here and share with you. Safaricom shares is going up. Well, would I advise you to buy as of now? Well, of course, yeah, you can buy, because, after all, I'm viewing these shares might actually even go up there. The highest we've ever recorded in Safaricom, I think it was 26. Was it 26? Yeah, something like that. But I stand corrected. Was it around 26? Probably might be the first time these Safaricom shares can even hit 30 or even 40 or something like that. But anyway, it's always good to do some research before you're investing. This is not a financial advice. This is not like I'm telling you, go buy Safaricom shares, go do this. No, it's me, in Swahili we say kuhamasisha, meaning to enlighten you, to let you know that, hey, you know what, this is happening, just in case you're living under the rock, so that you can be able to make appropriate decision that is appropriate for you. See, did you see the way I framed that? That is appropriate for you, meaning it's actually way workable for you, because the way I invest shouldn't be the way you invest unless we have the same goal, want to achieve it at the same time, the same amount, and all those kind of things. So basically, that is. And by the way, some of you might ask me, hey, how much do you think Joseph would cost to buy this Safaricom? Let's say you buy these Safaricom shares at 25 shillings per shares of now. The laws in Kenya dictates that you have to buy a minimum of 100. Though you can buy less than that, and there is a way you can do that. Again, that's why I said pick the number. I can show you how to do that. you can be able to, let's say we stick by 100 shares minimum. Then you need around, say 100 times 25, that's like a 2500 Kenyan shillings plus the stock, the brokerage stock, the stock brokerage fee, which is usually 2% of your transaction. That's like 50 shillings. You know, you need to approximately, let's say with 2600, you're good to go. You can buy a minimum number of shares. But the whole point, excuse me, the whole point is not really buying and just letting go. The whole point is to just buy, keep on buying, you fatten the cow. You know, you keep on fattening the cow, you fatten the cow until the time comes when now, you know, your cow is fat enough to do the thing. Yeah. So it's always good to make sure that you accumulate to reach a certain point. Now you can be like, you know, I always tell people, you find somebody, I can guide somebody buy shares, let's say they buy 100 shares, and then the next minute they ask me, how can I sell them? See, the whole point is not about, please avoid, okay, I shouldn't say avoid. I would say when you're building yourself, the capital gain may not necessarily be the thing that you're chasing. Capital gain is basically when you buy shares, say at 17, they go all the way to 25. That difference, if you sell, that is whatever you make. But for me, I would say if you're looking at it from the lenses of long term, sure, capital gain can be a factor, but I usually go the dividends way. That is where now the money is working for you. So you're continuously getting the cash, you know, into your pocket each and every year. But Safaricom pays dividends in two times per year. We have the interim one, and then we have the final dividends. Okay, so basically those are two ways on how you make money with the Safaricom, well, not Safaricom rather, but with stocks or shares. If where you are right now, you feel it's the right way to go ahead as far as the buying shares is concerned, regardless where you're watching me from, you can go ahead and pick that number, shoot me a call, let's talk business. For now, it's a goodbye. Don't forget, this is Good Joseph as always. I try the best as I can, by the way. You know what? Sometimes I even sleep very few hours to make sure that I study all these things, what are happening in the market, and I come here and share with you. You don't need to do all those. The only thing that you need to do is to make sure that you subscribe, you like the video, so that you'll be notified whenever Good Joseph upload an good video. See you there.